Hi, guys, and welcome to the Quinn podcast. Here we give you a look through the eyes of the most successful athletes, entertainers, entrepreneurs, and influencers on this planet. Be sure to check out all of the content at quinnpodcast.com. Enjoy the episode. Yeah, it's pretty funny for me. A bit of like a backstory for me. I'm 21, right? You grow up and you see like the world as it is. And now with the show, like meeting people that actually produce like the movies I grew up watching, stuff like that. It's pretty cool. It makes it like tangible. So that's fun. Can you take me back what it was like before Hollywood for you? Your whole come up in that way.
Oh man, I mean, before Hollywood, I still had a whole life. But I moved. I wanted to. I wanted to be an actor. I studied acting. Maybe if you know, you've seen my movies. I've been in a bunch of my movies as well, and but I studied acting my whole life. I wanted to be an actor and in the movie business since the age of 4. And then the movie Forrest Gump came out when I was like 6, and I was just, okay, this is what I want to do. I actually tried writing a letter to Tom Hanks when I was 10.
How did that go?
I don't know if it ever got to him, but now I know Tom Hanks, so it's actually kind of funny, you know.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, and I moved. I mean, I won't go through my whole life, but I moved to LA in 2000, at the end of 2009. I had driven out there. At that point, before I grew up in Florida, and I was living there, and I was just trying to find myself. I always knew I wanted to be in entertainment, but then sometimes I felt like it wasn't achievable, that it was just a ridiculous thing to even think about. And there was a couple people that I had spoken to and they gave me some confidence, and so I just put all my shit in the car and just drove cross country. And I didn't know anyone when I got there. I lived in my car for a while until I got on my feet. But I parked by the beach, so I told people I had beachfront property.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it was like you see it in the movies, like just a guy,
I guess my
going for
story
it.
is kind of like the movie, but I started as an actor, and I was, auditioning. And you had mentioned to me earlier the Pizza Hut commercial. It's very, very funny. There's a very funny part to that story. When I booked that commercial, that was after I had been living in LA for about 5-6 months. I booked that commercial. I thought I understood how Hollywood worked. I remember I called my parents,
Right.
and I was like, "We did it." And they're like, "What do you mean?" It's like, I booked the National Pizza Hut commercial. And they're like, and I'm like, well, if my calculations are correct, the commercial will come out. I mean, it's national. Somebody will see me in the commercial and say, that guy's a movie star, and then like pluck me out. And 3 months later, I was working back in a restaurant. About a year and a half later, I got connected with Avi Lerner, the founder and the chairman of Millennium. And I had a lot to learn from him. I realized maybe I should learn what it's like, what life is like behind the camera, because I was always creative, but I wanted to learn the business. So I got hired as his assistant. And my job in the beginning, I was driving him around, filling his car with gas, getting coffee, making sure the cigars are like in the perfect. I'm an expert now, by the way, at making sure cigars are humidified.
Awesome.
And so, and through him, I actually learned the business side, because Millennium is one of the largest independents, and and at one point we were doing 6-8 movies a year, big ones, and you would hear him. I would just hear Avi wheel and deal on the phone, and that's how I started to learn it. I would listen to the phone calls, and at nighttime, he would have me sit at his desk, and he would sit at the other side, and we would go email by email, and I'd read them to him, and he would tell me how to respond. And that's how I started to really learn it. And the beautiful thing about Millennium is that it's a very hands-on company. It's one of the largest independents, but the staff isn't that big. So we all wore different hats. Somebody would go away to make a movie, somebody dealing with casting, the financing, the sales. It's all done in-house. Plus, Millennium has their studios in Sofia, Bulgaria, actual physical studios. So I spent a lot of time in studios. And the first movie I physically produced for Millennium was I think we're going back now 15 years, was Security, a movie called Security that I made with Antonio Banderas. And I remember getting to Bulgaria and looking, and I understood the financing part by that point, but as far as physical production, I understood the creative side, but the costs of everything. So one of the line producers did me a favor when I got there, and I had him lay out all of the equipment on a soundstage that's used in a movie, from the camera to the tripods to lighting to electrical, all that stuff, and I learned the cost of each one. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay, this is what this is, and so I started to kind of, learn more, and it's all by experience. The movie business is all by experience, man. It's like you learn by doing. And since then, I've worked on over 50 movies in all kinds of capacities, as a producer, and here we are. And today I run the company.
That's exciting, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And so we've been transitioning and looking at stuff, but just what's been happening in the independent movie business, with sales and distribution has been difficult. Mm-hmm. And it takes Hollywood a while to kind of catch on to when something is bleeding. They're like the last ones to get the memo for some reason.
Right.
But I kind of caught on a while ago, and I've been looking at, we can get in, the AI stuff, sure, and all of these things. But the interesting point is that if you think about it, a long time ago, the entertainment industry, they dictated when someone got entertained. Mm-hmm. It was right. Like, okay, you want to watch this movie, you got to show up at this cinema at this time and buy a ticket, or you want to catch this television series, you better make sure your ass is in the couch at Sunday night at 8 o'clock or you're going to miss it, right? Mm-hmm. And that whole concept is over. It's been over. It's flipped upside down on its head, because once these came, these cell phones, and the social media and short form content, it just changed the game. It's the audience is now dictating to us, and we've got to get on board with that. Our job is to entertain. How someone consumes is how someone consumes. We got to make sure that they have something to consume in the way that they consume.
And there's so much coming out at all times, and there's so much to pick from. Yeah.
And to get a set of eyeballs is harder than ever.
Yeah.
Days.
That's funny, man.
So, and then anyway, as a result of that, about a few years ago, my co-founder showed me Midjourney on Discord. And I saw it. It was like an early version of it, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to change everything. And then so I was like looking at it from a copyright standpoint, from the fact that your words are becoming images. I thought it was fascinating. And so we had this hypothesis, like, can we actually, Midjourney never worked in a workflow. It can't. It took too long to get your image. It just didn't make sense. Also, the quality of the images was not cinematic quality. So we asked ourselves a question, like, can we create a platform where you're taking AI, putting it in a sandbox, surrounding it with very comprehensive tools so that you can work in a creative workflow and actually maintain and stick to deadlines. And that's how Arcana was born, which was a huge learning curve because I'd never built a tech company before. And man, I failed multiple times in the beginning. I mean, I didn't understand how development works. Like, people were like, yeah, it'll cost you 150 grand and I can get it up in 4 months. And I was like, in 4 weeks. And I was like, great. And here we are, like, years later and millions of dollars later. And finally we have this like platform that's starting to really sing,
Yeah, no, for sure. We're definitely going to get into that. It's a very interesting development. I love the backstory part always. Like if we can dive a bit deeper into that, like, what do you think from the moment you got that job as an assistant, right? Do you think Avi was like training you already, like from the moment, or did you see potential as that went on? Like, how do you see that?
It's a good question. He always tells me that he saw potential.
Right.
He says that to me a lot, and but I don't know. He kind of took a liking to me. I was not qualified to have that job. You were supposed to have a bachelor's degree, and I had none of these things. You're supposed to be proficient in like all the Microsoft programs, Word. And Word, I knew how to use Excel and formulas. I knew none of that. I'm a really analog guy, you know, but I know where to point a camera and I know how to tell a story. And I was really passionate about that. And so he he had a lot of patience for me, you know, and then from there, I learned a lot of lessons from him, but I felt when I got hired, my feeling was, I feel like I can grow here. I feel like there's a real potential for something here. You know? And as hard as it was, and there was a part of me that didn't feel satisfied because I felt like I was hanging up acting, but I knew I'd come back to it at some point. And I was like, this is your path now. I feel like when people enter an industry, they have blinders on. They're like, there's only one way to do something. I need to do this track, and this track. But I learned that in life, you got to be flexible. You got to be flexible. You don't know which way the wind is going to blow. As long as you have your goals in mind, who cares how you get there? You can go this way or that way. But I did feel like he saw something in me. I don't think he would have invested in me the way that he did. But I was always around. As an assistant, I was amazing. I was around 24 hours a day. There was no job for me that was too small or big. I figured it all out. And I was always there, and I learned how to anticipate things of my boss. And so I'll give you an example. Because I think today with the younger generation, I think when someone gets a job as an executive assistant or something, in the younger generation, they're already looking I think when the day they start, they're already looking for who's going to be their assistant. I just think work ethic today is much different than it used to be. And just to give you an example, I told you I was driving him around, and I remember my first Cannes Film Festival, where I was going to go there, and it's like our Olympics. It's where the most sales is. You're seeing all the buyers from around the world and things like that. And I went there a few days early because he wanted me to rent a car just to go learn where everything was. Just to drive around by myself to learn where's the Ducap, where's this hotel, where's these restaurants, where can I park the cars, so that when he came in, I was already versed in it, well known. And I've had many assistants over the years. Some of them are amazing. Most of them became producers. But I still have, I've only had one that ever behaved that way. I had one, she didn't make it too far. I had one that on her first day of the job, she came to ask me if she can work from home the rest of the week.
Oh, amazing.
And I was like, yeah, go, but just stay there.
Yeah, right. No, it's yeah. I ask because it's like understanding what it takes in an industry like that, especially like I've been to LA once. I don't know what I'm talking about, but from what you hear, how cutthroat it is, and how relentless people can be. It's an interesting one, right? To sort of see why certain people make it and others don't. It's
Yeah, and look, it's a lot. It's not as cutthroat as it used to be. There's a lot of new rules, so you can't not everybody's Ari Gold anymore. Those days are over. But those days did exist, and I worked in Hollywood in those days, and I got to tell you, there was something kind of fun about it.
Sure.
It's just ridiculous. And a lot of my friends in the industry, they're all friends of mine that we were assistants at the same time, and our bosses needed to speak to each other, but we would be the ones connecting the calls. So a lot of them I met over the phone. They were so-and-so's assistant or someone else's, and I was, and then we started to get together on the weekends to drink our sorrows away. And then from there, those are the people till today that all grew. It's crazy to see. Most of the people that I interface with on a daily basis are people that were assistants with me, in different companies 15 years ago, 16 years ago.
Awesome.
Crushing it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And a lot of them fall off. You see how many of them, after a couple of years, just leave the industry.
Why do you think?
It wasn't what they expected. They weren't as thick-skinned as they thought. Maybe they weren't as passionate about it as they thought. I think the entertainment industry, you have to have a bit of delusion to want to be in it. You have to be a little delirious. You have to be a little crazy. You have to be thick-skinned. It's a pretty, specific combination of human being. And you have to know that if you want to be a storyteller or help storytellers tell their stories, it's a hard job, and you got to be. You basically, I say it's like having a virus. Like if you have this virus, there's nothing you can do to get it better except by executing on your vision, on your storytelling.
Yeah, no, that's cool for sure. You mentioned some developments in Hollywood. How do you look at the state of Hollywood, like in general today, with like short form content and everything, and this stuff we mentioned on already?
I think Hollywood in its traditional form is bleeding. You hear the industry screaming about short form content and AI and all of that stuff. Like, you're trying to destroy the business. The truth is, it's bleeding. It's suffering already. I'm watching independent distribution companies close down left and right internationally because the numbers just aren't where they were before. People aren't consuming the way that they were before. I think the introduction of short form content and other ways of consuming content is essential to the survival of the entertainment industry. I think there will always be movies. People will always watch them. I just think it's shifting about how. You're seeing companies like Real Shorts pop up, where you can watch, vertically shot 2-minute episodes of telenovelas or whatever it is. That within 15 months, 16 months, the company's worth $5 billion.
Yeah.
You're watching Netflix, and the streamers constantly shift their mandates about what it is that they're looking to acquire or make, and trying to it's funny, their mandates shift so often. They're like, 1 week we need Gen Z stuff, the next week we need female-driven stuff. Okay, this week we need male-driven action movies. It's like they're looking at these statistics, and everything is a statistic, and statistics are important, but it's also the movie business, and you have to be a little bit. You just got to throw a bunch of shit against the wall sometimes.
So you feel like even like Netflix, for example, like that level of company, they don't dictate what people watch. It's like they're running after the facts, sort of.
Yeah, everything for them is about the algorithm.
Okay.
The algorithm. If you pay attention to Netflix, I'm not talking about Netflix internationally. Like for example, if you're in the Netherlands, I'm not talking about Netflix locally for Benelux, for the Benelux region. I'm talking about Netflix global. If you look at, there's always a series. Okay, if you look, there's a year period where you see nothing but romantic comedies come in.
Right.
And those romantic comedies all have the same kind of look, very similar kind of story. And they're like, okay, this is getting the eyeballs. This is the algorithm. Even to the point of how the movies are colored has to do with the algorithm. And then you see this generic stuff coming out that there's a market for it, and but I think there's been some point where it's like, creativity feels like it's been hijacked a little bit, because you have to fit into this box. And I actually met with a filmmaker yesterday who's made some incredible movies, and he is so profound when it comes to creativity and stuff that his movies really last a while. And you look at filmmakers like Sean Baker, who are just like, screw it, I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
And look how successful they are. So
yeah, no, for sure.
There has to be I think A24 does a good job at that, but there has to be this respect for creativity still. And I think they're getting on board. I mean, it's shifting, but it seems like it's moving kind of towards that way. And especially now with the advent of AI and all of that stuff, you're going to start to bring these costs down. So I think you'll be able to take more risks. That's why I actually think AI can save the business as opposed to destroy it.
Fascinating. And then at the same time, why do you think, like for example, the Expendables you worked on, why does that work for 4 movies in a row?
Well, the 4th one didn't work so well.
Oh, it didn't?
No, but the problem is that that movie, that whole franchise is built on these names, right? These aging action stars, having them all together. I think the novelty of that wore off. I love the Expendables. I cut my teeth on the Expendables. The 4th one, I think, didn't work. The 4th one wasn't so amazing. There was a lot of just difficulties with it till we got it done, but it was coming out around the time of the strikes, the Screen
Okay,
Actors
yeah, right.
Guild strikes,
Hmm.
and so at that time the actors weren't allowed to promote or do anything. And a movie specifically like that, with that kind of a cast, it's designed to be promoted by those actors to create awareness. So they weren't allowed to do that. So that's why I think it was one of the reasons it didn't do as well. But yeah, Expendables was fun. I mean, the
Hmm.
first one is amazing. The second one's amazing. The third one's okay. The third and fourth are okay. Um, I yeah, there was a novelty thing about seeing all these people together and doing action that's a little larger than life. And
Right.
I feel like it was counter programming to the time when all the superhero movies were coming out.
Hmm.
You know, and it's like sometimes you don't want to see a guy in a cape. Sometimes you just want to see a badass guy, you know, a human, you know, just kick some ass, you know, with some
Right. So
machinery
it's
explosions.
it's a lot about like the moment in like culture and time like a movie comes out from your perspective. It's not like you've done what 2 billion in box office.
Yeah.
It's not like you see a consistent element of like if I do this, it's gonna be successful. It's just you gotta read the times in that sense.
Yeah, you do, and you have to see what's. I mean, you look at it. Sometimes there's competing things. There's like a zeitgeist, almost like a global consciousness. I'll give you an example. When we were doing Olympus Has Fallen,
Hmm.
there was another movie happening at the same time called White House Down with Sony,
Yeah.
and um, and we ended up. Ended up being competition. I mean, we know what happened because Millennium. We know how to do a movie for a lot less money and make it look great. The studios don't. I think they spent 125 or 130 million on it. We spent 50, and we
You
made
did? Okay.
Olympus. So we went around. We went around. We basically became a franchise, and White House Down died. Like I mean, the
Hmm.
movie came out, died. They didn't make another one after that. So there's like, so it was basically two, Secret Service protecting the president, Die Hard in the White House, and there was like another project. My movie, The Outpost, had at that time there was another project going, also at Sony.
Hmm.
Sony, I could go with Sony all the
Big
time.
competitors, right?
Yeah, it's like the David and Goliath.
Hmm.
Um, that was also going, and we just went quicker into production. Around, it was the same story about the Battle of Kamdesh. So sometimes these things happen, but historically, action movies in the indie world, like the independent world, work and they translate. Millennium was all about what works internationally, because we do international pre-sales. So just to make it super simple, you don't need to put a subtitle on an explosion,
Sure.
right? Comedy, for example, is more difficult because what's funny in Holland is not necessarily what's funny in Germany or France.
Hmm.
The humor is different. So we were always looking for things that would travel internationally with big cast and that were just fun.
Yeah. It's an interesting one because feedback loops are like big. Like you can like I have a bunch of business people on it. Like you can test version 1 or 2 of a movie. Like you can sort of sure focus groups and whatever, but not like on a big scale. So you take a risk every time. It's an interesting, like from a business perspective, it's very interesting to produce
It
a
is, you
movie.
take a risk, but our business model, we mitigate risk a lot because
How do you do that?
we we pre-sell. I work in a model where we pre-sell and license our international rights to different territories before we make the movie. So I come with
Hmm.
the package, the poster, the director, the script, the actor, the budget, and then I get a minimum guarantee. Like for example, a company we work with a lot in Benelux is Dutch Filmworks and Studio
Hmm.
Canal.
Sure.
And so we go to them, and I talk to my friend Marcel over there. Maybe he'll be watching this podcast, saying hi to Marcel. And so, who runs the company over there, and we would talk about the value, and he would give the way it worked. If he wanted to buy the movie or license it, he would give me a minimum guarantee against what he thinks the movie is going to perform in his territories. And with that, I get a contract and a deposit, and I would do that with 40 territories around the world, and go to the bank. then the bank gives us the money. So a lot of times, by the time we're rolling camera, we're in the black.
Fascinating. Interesting.
Now that's a model that's shifting a lot because of the changes happening in the world with television stations and things like that, because the distributor then has to go and sell in their territory to the TV broadcasters, to the streamers in their territory. And all of that whole model is changing right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's more and more difficult to sell, to pre-sell a movie today than it ever has been.
Interesting, man. From that point, like Arcana, obviously, how did you see being president of Millennium, Arcana play a role in your day-to-day, as if that's not enough?
Yeah, well, I haven't seen my family in 3 years. I'm totally kidding. They're super supportive of all this. But
Awesome.
I knew, after seeing what I had mentioned before, like Midjourney, I was like, I knew that this is the future. I didn't understand, but I knew that what I was seeing was a game changer across the board, and I had to get into this, otherwise we were going to get left behind. Also, I noticed that there were all these tech companies creating all these sophisticated AI models. I'm like, it's not going to work. Tech doesn't understand how we think. As a filmmaker, if I can come in and build an AI platform designed for filmmakers, that's designed for artist-driven AI, not AI-driven art, then I think then maybe Hollywood would start to adopt it. And then I saw how budgets are going up, and I hear all the time how visual effects budgets are too high. They can't get the movie done, they shelve it. But things like Arcana can come in and make those projects happen now. So I started building it while I was still doing Millennium. I had disclosed it to Millennium. And one of the benefits that Millennium gets is that they get access to the platform.
Okay.
They get to use it. Used it on multiple movies already for different reasons, and saved a bunch of money and put out some good work. But it's been difficult, man. To have a startup and be running a studio I don't recommend it to anyone. Me and my partner, Arcana, we laugh about it. We don't laugh, we actually cry about it all the time. We're like, it's like every single day is a surprise. Like every day. Like I go straight from, doing this podcast or dealing with, an investor for Arcana or dealing with our developers to right into negotiating with a major studio for one of our franchises in Millennium. My head goes, and I don't recommend it. At some point, something's got to give, and I'm going to fall one way or the other. We'll see what happens. I'll keep you updated about that.
Yeah, no, I love that. What was like you saw like Midjourney, and then what was sort of like the move from there? What was R&D like to where we are today?
R&D was that me and my co-founder we were just super obsessed with Midjourney, and then we got frustrated with it, and so we started to look at what was out there and just start to talk to developers. I had spoken to a friend of mine in Bulgaria because I spent so much time there, who's in the tech world, and he knew developers, and so we just started consulting with developers about if we wanted to build something like this, how would it look, and learning. And we spent the first few months just trying to learn as much as we can, and then we decided to pull the trigger. In the beginning, we weren't planning on building Arcana as a business. We were just going to build Arcana as a tool to have for ourselves, for movies. We're like, if we have this to ourselves, we'll have an edge over everybody. But then we saw all the use cases and all the different verticals it can be available to, and we were like, wait, we'd be dumb not to turn this into an actual company. So from there, we made a decision to create Arcana. I funded the first few $100,000 of it, and then from there I took some other money from friends and family. We raised very little money by design. We had people that were trying to throw money at us, and I said, no, I don't want to be irresponsible, and I don't know what I'm getting myself into yet. And so we did it with low money, a lot of trial and error, a lot of sleepless nights. I would go from basically doing my day job at Millennium to working from 9 o'clock at night till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning on Arcana with the developers in Bulgaria and my co-founder every single day for a year. And it was, plus my wife got pregnant at the time with her son, who is now 1.5 years, plus dealing with that. Plus, it's funny, I'll share something with you. my wife, it was, when my wife got pregnant, it was March, she told me March or April of 2023. Yeah, March of 2023. My son was born on December 11th, 2023. And so I get home from Bulgaria. She had come to visit me in Bulgaria when I was shooting Hellboy, and I came home. And at that point, we had decided like a month before, we're going to build an AI platform. Like, we are going to do this. We're going to make Arcana. I come home. My wife had come to visit me in Bulgaria. Let me just set the stage. I'm sorry. My wife came to visit me in Bulgaria. She's an actor and a writer. She stayed for only a few days. She was supposed to stay for 2 weeks because she booked a television series while she was in Bulgaria. She was like, "Oh, I gotta go."
Right.
And obviously, I hadn't seen my wife in a while, as you can imagine. So I get back from shooting in March, and the next morning, she tells me that she's pregnant. Like, she filmed, like she had a hidden camera going to tell me that she was pregnant. And you hear in the video, as I'm hugging her, you hear me saying, "Oh, wow, okay, now I really have to build Arcana." Like, you heard that say. That was in March of 2023. And I think that's when the switch flipped in me, where I was like, this is super important.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna do our damnedest to make it. And also we were just like, this is super important. Sorry.
It's fun. It's like moments like that, right? When you tie it to like such like important moments in your life. I remember one of the last things I told my grandma before she passed, like 4 years or something like that, that I was going to get into law school. Now, I don't like law school, but I told her, right? So now I got to finish law school. So it's sort of like that. It's like there's no way back for you right now. Like, it's Arcana got to work.
As men, all we have is our word.
That's it.
At the end of the day, it's really deduced down to that. You know, as men, we only have our word. Man, it's been a crazy ride, and I feel like it's just starting, because after we went to Web Summit and all that stuff, like, things really blew up.
Yeah, in what way?
For a good way. We've just been getting a lot of attention, and finally the studios are paying attention to us, and the streamers, and a lot of, you know, outside, just other verticals, you know, from people, from companies in the food industry and the real estate industry. And now there's VCs coming at us that want to throw money at us, and there's people who want to start a digital studio. I mean, it's just been like this snowball effect since Web Summit. And now our publicists are like going to start sending me to go speak everywhere now. I'm going to be like an evangelist for AI, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just picked up. It's gotten really busy since. And that was a really great education. I gotta say, you know, it's so important to learn about things, and I'm guilty of sometimes being closed-minded about stuff because I don't want to learn, but I'm changing that. And just to be at a tech conference, it was my first time ever going to a tech conference. Never been to one before in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting to see, first of all, what you learn very quickly is Hollywood is a drop in the bucket compared to what's going on in the tech industry. It's like this small compared to what's happening in the tech world, you know, and you meet all these interesting people. You know, I met people that were way younger than me that have like figured out ways to like plant 30,000 trees in a few hours. And I was like, whoa, that are really changing the world. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, figured out cool ways to make videos, I guess, you know. So it's very humbling to be at those places, and the people that you meet. It's so interesting, but it gets your creative juices flowing, you know.
No, for sure. What was the, like, for the audience, like, explain sort of the value prop for Arcana?
So in the audience, so basically Arcana is a suite of, it's an ecosystem, a suite of tools where you use smaller proprietary data sets with AI, so you don't have issues with copyright or copyright infringement as you're building out whatever piece of content or whatever it is. And it's basically a way to democratize art. I'll give you an example. The movie Echo Hunter that we had made, that the director Kevin, the kid, made. He had been directing commercials for years, and he wanted to be a filmmaker. He wanted to make this movie. Nobody was backing him. It would be a big budget, but the tools on Arcana allowed him to make it. You know, which for me is so. It's so incredible because I know what it's like to be in that position where you don't feel like you've got a shot. And so one of the things I said at Web Summit, which I really stand behind, is with tools like Arcana Labs, the only barrier to creativity now and executing on your vision is passion. Today, there's no more excuses. There's no more, I couldn't afford a camera, I couldn't do this or I couldn't do that. It's now, you have to educate yourself, learn how to use these tools. And if you're creative enough and if you're a good storyteller, if you have good vision, you'll make great stuff and people will see. You know, I mean, in today's world with social media and YouTube, you can get anything out there. I mean, I look at what people like my wife. My wife is a brilliant creative. She's a writer. She writes, directs, and edits all of her own sketch comedy and content. As a result, she's been booked, you know, she's coming out in a bunch of movies and she developed her own television series based on her own intellectual property and characters. She did it all through social media. She was consistent and built an audience, and there was no excuse. She was pregnant doing social media. She was just at home most of the day doing social media, and she realized, like a lot of creators realize, is that this whole Hollywood system of I need the agent, they have to send me to the audition, and let's see what happens. There's place for that today, but you really have an opportunity to take your career into your own hands and mold it into whatever you want. Mm-hmm. There are tools for all of these things. So, and you don't need to break the bank. You know, as long as you got a phone, you can film anything today. You know? So, passion. That's the barrier to entry.
That's amazing. It's such a from like where I'm sitting, it makes so much sense. Like the sort of the problem you're solving, and you say there are these young kids like doing a lot of stuff, but sort of the connections you gotta have in the business, and I mean your valuation's got to be crazy already, and it's going to go up.
Our kind of our valuation. Actually, we're in the process of doing our 409A official valuation right now.
Oh, exciting.
And I'm hearing some trickling of numbers. I'm not going to reveal anything.
No, sure.
I'm hearing some numbers, and I'm very, very happy about it.
Yeah, I see you smiling. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
What's your goal with it? What do you want to do, like long term, like with Arcana?
At heart, I'm a filmmaker. I love this company. I've loved it. I started to love it more when I started to interact with the people that are actually using the tools, and it's changing their lives. But you know, I'm not delusional. I am delusional, but I'm not that delusional that I know that, you know, I feel like 18 months, 18 months, we'll see what happens. You know, we are open to being acquired for sure. We feel like that's what's going to happen. There have been multiple companies that started circling us. Someone did try to buy us about 6 months ago before we officially launched. And it was a nice number, but it wasn't enough to take care of my whole team and all of that stuff. And so I was like, and also we hadn't really launched yet, and we wanted to see, because we wanted to see our hypothesis. Yeah. So I think, you know, we won't be precious, but we want to make sure it ends up in the right hands. Mm-hmm. And I plan to stick around even after an acquisition.
Sure. Yeah. That's a crazy opportunity. It's right time, right place, that's for sure. You saw I saw this, I think last week. You saw the Black Mirror episode, like from the last season, about like filmmaking?
The one where where she was watching the series and it was like herself?
Yeah. It was basically Arcana. Like basically the same. They made an episode about your how did you look at that? Like,
yeah, I mean, those things are all going to be possible. Now in Arcana, you can't break the law. We have very strict security protocols and stuff. Like I see I don't know if you saw, there was recently an announcement that NBC Universal and Disney are suing Midjourney. Huge lawsuit.
Didn't see that. Oh. Okay.
And I've been saying this for a while, Mike. It's only a matter of time before these big models that are scraping the whole internet get popped for copyright infringement.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about Arcana is that, like I said, we use models that have opt-out lists. When someone's creating something professional, we use custom trained models based on their proprietary data, so they don't have those issues. Otherwise, unless you're using the platform for recreation and you're just making fan art or whatever it is, we have those users also. It doesn't matter; they can make whatever they want. But on Arcana, you cannot use the likeness of a celebrity. You can't do anything illegal. Our censorship and stuff is not. It doesn't infringe on your rights, but it just makes it so you can't do illegal things. You know, there's a lot of, unfortunately, sickos out there that want to do some bad stuff that we learned, so we had to tighten up our security protocols.
Yeah, that's got to be
Yeah,
fun to deal with that side of it.
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. By the way, dude, having a product like that kind of shows the beautiful parts about humanity and then the really dark side of humanity. You know, and it's, man, earlier when we had a soft launch, we kicked off 2,000 people from the platform and had to report them because they were trying to do some stuff, which made us increase and strengthen our security protocols. So we're in really good relations actually with the government, and we're in really good relations with all law firms and actually.
You got to be, right, because you don't want to be implicit to whatever how these guys are creating.
Yeah, but we're very clear that we protect creativity and the creator. And so when you have an enterprise account or you come on as a company, we remove a lot of that stuff because professionals, they're not trying to do stupid things. They're just trying to do their job. You know,
for sure. How realistic was that Black Mirror episode as far as the easiness of like creating a movie? Because like the Web Summit talk you gave, sure, a big part of it is going to be creativity still. I think he gave a bunch of examples on like the coloring and stuff. Like, how easy is it realistically going to be, let's say, 10 years from now, to create like a 90-minute movie? What are we talking?
Quentin, try 6 months from now. You know, it's crazy that it was realistic. I hate to say it, but it was realistic. I don't know if we're all the way there for that specifically, for like what we saw in the Black Mirror episode. But just to give you an example, Echo Hunter took 3 weeks to make.
Crazy.
And that was a couple months ago. Today, the tech is at a place.
What did that? Let's say I want to do that. Like, what did that cost? If I just for me like access to Arcana, if I have access to it, like what to create Echo Hunter? What are we talking?
To create Echo Hunter, under 20,000.
Crazy. That's crazy.
Crazy, and there's custom trained models and all of that stuff, but I can tell you that Echo Hunter today can be done in 3 or 4 days. The tech changed already, and we updated the tech. Like, that's how. So 6 months from now, you were talking about 10 years from now. 6 months from now, a year from now, I think a year from now, we'll be at a place where we could do 100% full Gen AI movies on another scale where you'll actually have real performance capture and things like that. If you look at Echo Hunter is a wonderful example, but there's areas where you could tell that it was AI, right? You see the way the lips were moving, you see the performance. But that's all going to go away and be remedied in the next year, for sure. It's funny, I talk to companies that have movies that they want to make, and I'm like, when are you shooting? They're like, we want to shoot next spring. I'm like, the tech is going to be in a completely different place. It'll actually be even cheaper. I'm like, what? I'm like, so like, you know, it's moving so fast, man. It's moving so fast.
It's so exciting, so like terrifying at the same time, but like, it's like funny. Just AI in its entirety. It's crazy.
Dude, and also, you know, it's really interesting, like outside of the platform, just the conversations that are happening about artificial intelligence, like where philosophers and scientists are getting together and talking about like what happens with AGI, what happens when AGI becomes ASI, like artificial general intelligence becomes artificial superintelligence. Like, imagine interfacing with an entity that has an IQ of 1 million.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Is it coming up with new knowledge that we have never even heard of before? Like, what is that? You know, that's
No,
where it becomes like a Black Mirror episode in real life.
for real. I spoke with someone about AI, I think a month ago, and she was like these. You have these people. I forget what the term for them is, but you have these people that are like experts in multiple things, like a Da Vinci, for example. They just become like masters in like multiple things, and because they have, or take like Elon Musk, for example, like he knows Tesla and he knows like rockets, and he takes like things from both and he combines them, and that's why it works so well. Same is going to be for AI. Like it's an expert in everything. So it's an expert in healthcare. It's an expert in tech. It's an expert in whatever. So the breakthroughs that were at sort of at the forefront of is amazing. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah. And now it's based on information that we put in, or ideas or knowledge that we put in. When it gets to this like artificial super intelligence and it's creating new knowledge, I think the way that we think about knowledge and innovation is going to change. I think our job, I mean, this could be pretty like wild what I'm about to say right now.
Sure.
I feel like our job is going to be like there'll be full scientific teams of humans just coming up with what questions to ask.
Yeah.
Not what's the answer. It's what's the question. Like how do we formulate the greatest questions for this entity, this machine? Is it going to be like accessing like spiritual stuff? Is it going to come to us with like a new religion? Well, like, what is this going to all look like? It's so wild. And then robots. I mean, are we ever going to come to a time where robots, they look so real, and because of the AI, are they going to be like, do we have to give them rights? Like, are they going to be asking for rights? Like, well, there's so many unanswered questions that are only going to be answered when we get there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like
It's exciting, and I agree with you. It's scary also. Like
I'm happy I got like 2 decades of life in without it, but I'm excited for what's about to unfold. Yeah. That's for sure.
That's funny. You will have lived most of your life with artificial intelligence as you get older. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And now these young, like I have an 18-month-old son. He's going to be in a world where there was always artificial intelligence. Won't know the difference.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Crazy. What's left for Millennium then? When you look, say, because you know like both sides of it, right? So how do you strategically look at the financial side for like Millennium, for example, over the next decade?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about Millennium is that we have a lot of assets, and we're still making stuff. There'll still look in the next decade. There'll still be human-made movies. We'll do blends. We'll definitely do blends, I'm sure, with AI. But right now, we're still going strong. We still have, because we have franchises. I don't think we'll be making as many movies a year, but I think we'll make a few bigger movies a year. You know, in the meantime, and also we've been licensing a lot of our IP. You know, we made we did Paris Has Fallen, the television series based on Has Fallen, and stuff like that. So those have been good revenue streams for us, like on the licensing front, merchandising deals. We did deals recently that were in the sandbox. You know, where we created in the metaverse, like all kinds of cool stuff with our IP. So intellectual property is king, so I think Millennium is still fine today.
Right.
Because we parlay a lot of our IP. But as far as volume, I don't think the volume will be what it was. We do have movies in the pipeline right now. I have a movie in post called Lucky Strike that we're working on. We are going to be doing a new Rambo movie, which we announced at the Cannes Film Festival. And so yeah, we'll still be kicking.
Exciting, man. I like it. For you personally, like as a as an exec, as an entrepreneur, what's you have like a big goal, like a big vision, like something you want to do, say, whatever, even 3 decades down the line. You're young, right?
Yeah, about 3 decades down the line, I would like to probably have sold everything.
Be good, yeah.
I am. Maybe it sounds like a cliche, but a huge goal of mine has always been to have a ranch or a farm somewhere and just be with my family. And I like the outdoors. I prefer the outdoors. I like nature. It's funny, I play in all of this tech, but I'd like to eventually live a life where I'm not really interfacing with much tech. So that's the goal eventually, to have land somewhere and have a place for my family to come and hang out in, and we grow a lot of stuff and just relax.
Yeah, away from all this.
Now, having said that, I say that a lot because, and then knowing me, it'll be like after that, it'll be like the next idea and the next thing. I'm like, oh, after this crazy thing that we can figure out, because I am an entrepreneur at heart. So, who knows?
Who knows? You ever gonna pick up acting again? You think?
Yeah, I'm in Lucky Strike.
You're in? Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and I'm in The Outpost, and I actually was offered a movie last night that I have to read to be in. So I love acting. Acting for me is passion. Like I love it. I'll always find a way to do it.
Awesome, brother. Cool. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for you. Thanks for listening to the Quinn Podcast. If you enjoyed it, you can go to quinnpodcast.com to check out all of the previous episodes. quinnpodcast.com.